Lee Marvin was born on February 19, 1924 in New York City. Marvin grew up in a family with a strong military background. His dad fought in World War I and his brother also served in the military. Growing up around this discipline and service helped shape the tough, no-nonsense personality that would later make him famous. He went to schools in Florida and New Jersey, but he was a restless kid who often got in trouble and didn't like following strict school rules. His early years showed the rebellious attitude and raw toughness that he would later bring to his movie roles. Marvin's life changed completely when World War II started and he joined the U.S. Marine Corps when he was 18 years old. He fought with the 4th Marine Division in the Pacific and saw terrible fighting in the Battle of Saipan in 1944, where he got badly hurt by machine gun fire. He was shot in the buttocks and sciatic nerve and spent over a year getting better in a naval hospital. He was given the Purple Heart Medal. These war experiences left him with both physical and emotional scars, but they also made him believable when he played soldiers, outlaws, and tough guys on screen. Unlike many actors who only pretended to be war heroes, Marvin actually lived through the terrible reality of war, which made his performances feel real in a way that audiences could sense. After the war, Marvin worked different odd jobs before ending up working as a plumber's assistant at a community theater. Almost by accident, he was asked to fill in for a small part when an actor got sick, and that experience made him interested in acting. With encouragement from mentors, he started training in New York, studying at the American Theater Wing. His unusual height, rugged appearance, and natural intensity made him stand out, and he soon moved from stage work into movies and television. Marvin's early Hollywood career was filled with supporting roles as bad guys, villains, and soldiers, often in westerns and war movies. His big break came in the 1950s with strong supporting roles in films like The Big Heat in 1953, where he played a scary gangster, and Bad Day at Black Rock in 1955, where his threatening presence made the movie more suspenseful. Throughout that decade, he became one of the most dependable bad guys in Hollywood, bringing toughness and menace to every role. The 1960s, however, marked his change from supporting actor to major star. Marvin starred in films that showed he could do many different things. In John Ford's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance in 1962, he played the evil outlaw Liberty Valance opposite John Wayne and James Stewart, creating one of the most memorable villains in Western movie history. He also showed a funnier side in Cat Ballou in 1965, where he amazed audiences by playing two roles, both the drunk gunfighter Kid Chalene and the villain Tim Strawn. His funny yet touching performance won him the Academy Award for Best Actor, proving his place among Hollywood's best. After this big win, Marvin became one of the era's most popular leading men. He starred in The Dirty Dozen in 1967, a big war movie with many stars that became a huge box office hit and remains one of his most famous films. His commanding performance as Major John Reisman, who had to lead a group of criminals on a dangerous mission, connected with audiences and influenced later war and action films. Other great films included Point Blank in 1967, a stylish crime thriller where he played a relentless anti-hero, and Paint Your Wagon in 1969, a musical where he surprised audiences by singing, even though his voice was gravelly and off-key. Despite his success, Marvin was known for his independent spirit and refusing to follow Hollywood's rules. He didn't like the fancy parts of being a celebrity and preferred a private life of fishing, boating, and outdoor activities. He often went back to his home in Tucson, Arizona, or his beloved Baja California, Mexico, where he found peace away from the movie business. Marvin was also honest about his struggles with drinking alcohol, which sometimes affected his personal and work life. In his later career, he kept appearing in films like Emperor of the North in 1973, The Klansman in 1974, Avalanche Express in 1979, and Gorky Park in 1983. Even as he got older, Marvin brought seriousness and toughness to his roles, showing a type of masculinity that seemed harder to find in the changing world of Hollywood. His last film was The Delta Force in 1986, where he worked alongside Chuck Norris, playing a tough old military leader in one last tribute to his action hero image. Lee Marvin's personal life was as colorful and complicated as his famous career on screen. In April 1952, when he was rising up in Hollywood, Marvin married Betty Ebling, a marriage that would last 15 years and give them 4 children. Their first child, a son named Christopher Lamont Marvin, 1952 to 2013, carried on the family name and lived a full life before passing away in 2013. Along with him, the couple had 3 daughters, Courtney Lee Marvin, Cynthia Louise Marvin, and Claudia Leslie Marvin, 1958 to 2012. Each child brought happiness and responsibility into Marvin's often stormy life, balancing his demanding job as an actor with his role as a dad. Although Marvin was known publicly as a tough screen presence, his children represented a softer, more private side of him that friends and co-workers often said was very different from his hard-edged movie characters. Despite having a family foundation, the marriage between Lee and Betty had its problems. The pressures of Hollywood life, Marvin's heavy drinking, and his unpredictable behavior created strain that eventually became too much to handle. After being separated for 2 years, the couple's marriage officially ended in divorce in January 1967. The breakup was painful not only for Marvin and Betty but also for their children, who grew up caught between the spotlight of Hollywood and the reality of family breakdown. Many years later in 2010, Betty shared her own view of their marriage in her honest memoir, Tales of a Hollywood Housewife, a memoir by the first Mrs. Lee Marvin. In the book, she talked about her experiences as the wife of a rising film star, revealing both the glamour and the difficulties of being married to a man whose career demanded constant attention. Betty even claimed that Marvin had been unfaithful during their marriage, saying that he had an affair with famous actress Anne Bancroft, a revelation that added another layer of mystery to the already complicated story of Marvin's personal life. After his divorce, Marvin's romantic life continued to grab public attention, especially with his long-term and very public relationship with Michelle Triola, a woman who became important not only to his personal story but also to American legal history. Their relationship ended in one of the most famous palimony lawsuits of the 1970s, a case that tested the rules of living together without marriage and made headlines across the country. However, after the chaos of that relationship, Marvin found some stability and comfort when he reconnected with Pamela Fili, his childhood sweetheart. The reunion was more than just a romantic restart. It was a return to familiarity, comfort, and the innocence of earlier days before fame had made his life complicated. The two married in 1970, and unlike Marvin's previous relationships, this marriage lasted. Pamela stayed by his side through the good times and bad times of his later career as well as during his declining health in the 1980s, staying with him until his death in 1987. After Marvin's passing, Pamela honored their connection and her husband's memory by writing and publishing the memoir Lee, a Romance, in 1997. In the book, she shared not only personal stories of their life together but also a deeply intimate portrait of the man behind the tough image. While audiences knew Marvin as the gravel-voiced anti-hero of films like The Dirty Dozen and Point Blank, Pamela painted a picture of a more vulnerable, loving, and deeply human person. Her book became both a love letter and a testament to the lasting bond that had brought them together again after so many years apart, making sure that Lee Marvin's legacy was remembered not only in movie terms but also in the more intimate world of love, companionship, and family. Lee Marvin, the tall, gravel-voiced actor with a reputation for being tough, did not hold back when it came to his feelings about his fellow actors. Known for being brutally honest and often grumpy, Marvin once shocked Hollywood by openly admitting that there were certain actors he simply could not stand. When asked to name names, Marvin did not hesitate. He listed 7 men in the business who, for one reason or another, bothered him the wrong way. Each name had its own history of grudges, work clashes, and personality conflicts that showed as much about Marvin himself as it did about those he hated. John Wayne. Although many fans thought Marvin admired Wayne because they had both built careers on war films and westerns, Marvin privately disliked him. The two clashed during the filming of the Comancheros and later during their Academy Award competition. Marvin, who had fought in World War II and been wounded in battle, resented Wayne's carefully created image as a war hero when, in fact, Wayne had never served in the military. He reportedly said Wayne played soldier better than anyone but couldn't handle the mud, blood, or bullets. Marvin also disliked Wayne's political views, thinking he was too strictly conservative, and the tension between them lasted until Marvin's death. Charles Bronson. Marvin often described Charles Bronson as too cold and too full of himself. They worked in similar types of films, gritty action movies. But Marvin thought Bronson didn't have range and relied too much on his tough physical presence rather than emotional depth. He also accused Bronson of being unfriendly and uncooperative on set, refusing to talk with fellow cast members. Bronson's quiet and moody personality clashed with Marvin's outspoken and confrontational nature. Marvin once joked, "Working with Bronson is like talking to a wall, except the wall has more personality." Robert Mitchum. While both were known for their rugged images, Marvin and Mitchum never got along. Marvin claimed Mitchum was lazy, often showing up to sets unprepared or hungover, and he resented what he saw as Mitchum coasting through roles. Mitchum, in turn, made fun of Marvin's intensity and tendency to take over scenes. Their mutual dislike boiled over when they crossed paths at a Hollywood party where Marvin accused Mitchum of sleepwalking through entire films, to which Mitchum shot back, "At least I don't scream my lines like I'm still in boot camp." Telly Savalas. Marvin had little patience for actors who he felt were more concerned with their image than the craft of acting, and Telly Savalas fell right into that category. Marvin disliked Savalas's constant self-promotion, his obsession with his signature bald look, and his reputation for being difficult with directors. On the set of The Dirty Dozen, Marvin reportedly called Savalas a peacock in combat boots, and accused him of trying to steal scenes. Their rivalry created so much tension that crew members often had to keep them apart between takes. Yul Brynner. Another actor Marvin couldn't stand was Yul Brynner. Brynner's royal, almost distant manner clashed with Marvin's rough-and-tumble approach. Marvin disliked Brynner's insistence on being the center of attention both on and off screen. He often criticized Brynner's control-freak tendencies, especially his habit of demanding specific camera angles that made him look better. Marvin once quipped, "Brynner doesn't act. He just stands there waiting for the light to hit him right." Their hatred came to a peak when Marvin turned down a project after learning Brynner was attached, saying, "I'd rather drink battery acid than share a scene with him." Tony Curtis. Marvin despised Tony Curtis for what he saw as fakeness. To Marvin, Curtis represented everything artificial about Hollywood: polished looks, charm, and fame without toughness. Curtis's flashy style and eagerness to play romantic leads clashed with Marvin's view of what real acting should be. Marvin was especially bitter about Curtis's ability to keep a pretty boy reputation, while Marvin, scarred from his wartime service, had to fight his way into tough guy roles. "Tony Curtis wouldn't last 2 minutes in a bar fight," Marvin once scoffed, "yet he's treated like some kind of legend." Frank Sinatra. Perhaps the most surprising name on Marvin's list was Frank Sinatra. Though Sinatra was loved as both a singer and actor, Marvin considered him arrogant, bad-tempered, and disrespectful to cast and crew. Marvin, who had little tolerance for what he saw as unprofessionalism, took issue with Sinatra's tendency to show up late, leave early, and expect everyone to adjust around his schedule. Their clash on the set of The Dirty Dozen, Sinatra was originally attached before pulling out, left Marvin with nothing but disgust. He later described Sinatra as the kind of guy who thinks the world owes him applause just for walking into a room. Lee Marvin's list of 7 hated actors says as much about his uncompromising personality as it does about the men he disliked. Marvin, a decorated Marine veteran who carried both physical scars and a blunt worldview, had little patience for what he saw as pretentiousness, laziness, or ego-driven behavior in Hollywood. Whether his criticisms were fair or colored by his own gruff nature, Marvin never backed down from speaking his mind. To the end of his life, he remained the rare actor who would rather burn bridges than pretend to like someone he despised. A heavy smoker and drinker, Marvin had health problems by the end of his life. In December 1986, Marvin was hospitalized for more than 2 weeks because of a condition related to coccidioidomycosis. He went into respiratory distress and was given steroids to help his breathing. He had major intestinal ruptures as a result and had a colectomy surgery. Marvin died of a heart attack on August 29, 1987, at age 63. He was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery.